Want to introduce, Rhonda, I want to introduce Jamie May. Jamie May is with a company called Botan Gardner. He does have experience in this realm. Yeah, I'm not the best as far as, speak, different things and everything else. As far as the English language is not my first language. I'm originally from the east side of Cleveland, so we do talk a little different. We make up words and everything else. But anyways, we thought it would be a good idea. Jamie and the company sits there and makes some really great product. They're out of Australia originally. So we know the harsh weather that Australia can get. Now the product is being made in Dallas, so we don't have that whole thing as far as coming over and that. So what we wanted to do is, since Jamie has had quite a few years, working with different manufacturers as far as with this type of product, we thought he'd be a great person to sit there and come in and talk about what you should look for, what you should, think about as far as product, the type of product, materials, and everything else. So with that,
we're excited to introduce Jamie.
Thank you. Well, it's real nice to be here. Sorry, I have my back to a bunch of folks, but I can see if you're coming at me. Just wanted to really, spend the next, say, 20 minutes kind of just giving a high-level overview of what outdoor public space furniture looks like and how we look at it. So just a brief, we're going to go through some brief talking points of the company overview, define a little bit about the public space, discuss materiality, and then show some applications. Right on. So as we were saying, Botan Gardner.
Oh, that's how you say it.
We're based in Australia, been in business for 27 years. And we were originally founded by a landscape architect, Mike Botan and Carol Gardner. And they decided to start building product or designing product for their projects. And that's really how we got to where we are today. Just to give a little overview, we've been in business since 1975 as the Beresque Group in Australia. It's a family-owned business, and we do commercial furniture, acoustics, fabrics, and wall covering. In 2015, they brought the brand Zintra to the United States. That's exclusively distributed by MDC Wall Covering. Then in 2022, Funk, which is a sister brand that Tim O'Neill also represents, introduced at NeoCon last year and won a gold award. And then we are right behind it as the public site furniture. From a sustainability perspective, we use certified hardwood. FSC is what folks know in the States. In Australia, we get our eucalyptus from a managed forest as well. And all of the products are either steel or aluminum, so it has a high volume of recycled content already in it. And then from a powder coat perspective, we use low VOC powder.
Very cool. I love to hear a company that really focuses on sustainability. You did just talk about the materials, but what about some of the processes that go into your?
So, well, the furniture itself, the frames are all, whether it's cast aluminum or steel, it has recycled content already in it. And then as we manage the wood, at the end of its useful life, it can be recycled again.
Jamie, being an outdoor furniture,
it's not scripted.
Yeah, right. Outdoor furniture, it's obviously exposed to the harshness of the weather and the elements. How does the products and the finishes combat that?
Well, really selecting the right products for the application is really probably the key. Utilizing Australian eucalyptus, it's a cross fiber wood, so it's very dense and durable and withstands the test of time. And then with the powder coat process or hot dip galvanizer, we'll talk a little bit more about here shortly, really kind of works into those environments.
Cool.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought I was waiting for the screen. You tricked me. All right. So the next question is regarding maintenance on these kind of things for outdoors.
Well, I think the biggest thing is having the right product or specifying product that's designed to be outside 24/7 is the right way to go. There's a lot of, it's designed to be out in the environment. It's low maintenance. So facilities folks or cities and parks aren't going to go back and really do much to it once it's there.
Not too bad.
So we talk a lot about public space and what the definition is. So really, public space, if you think of Central Park and areas that are operating 24/7, that people can come and go as freely as they want. That's really, defining public space.
The best products for this type of application, do you have any recommendations?
Working with a proper site furniture company, there's competitors in class that maybe specify something for outside and it's really not designed for it. For example, we're doing a project in Nebraska and they specified it what they thought was an outdoor product, but it had a walnut finish and it lasted for about 3 months.
Wow. So materiality is very important.
Yes.
Thinking about outdoor.
Yeah. And then when we talk about protected private space, those are those areas when you think about like a college campus or a healthcare setting where people can enjoy it during the day, but it's not really designed to be 24/7. So there's typically more maintenance, more security, and typically they're not wanting people to sleep on the bench.
Yeah. What kind of maintenance do these spaces typically see?
So in protected private or even in public space, I mean, you're going to see power washing and whatnot. So they need to be durable to stand up to that because a lot of the wood could get etched from the power washing. So cities really just clean it off from a debris perspective, but in campus, college campuses and whatnot, they'll actually maintain a little bit more.
Very cool.
And then as we started talking about materiality, again, we use Australian eucalyptus, and yeah, you can pass it on.
Well, I thought you'd hold it up to
Sure.
the camera.
Oh, this is Australian eucalyptus, and we oil it, and you don't have to, but we typically do because it actually keeps the beauty of the wood a little bit longer. All wood grays out over time, and that's something that folks really need to be aware of. Typically in the outdoor environment, you see more Jara and Ipe in the United States. There used to be a species called black locust that was really kind of overused, and now you might find it only in railing cladding for decks and whatnot.
So Jamie, you mentioned that you put the oil on there. You do oil it so that it protects from the UV resistance. Do you have any issues with the wood splitting at all? Or, do we have to cover the products during harsh weather, like, 8 months out of the time in Ohio? Is that something that we can do, or how do you suggest going about with that?
It's a good question. Because it's cross-grain fiber, what they call is called checking, and it might just crack a little bit, or it might have a wormhole in it, but it doesn't spread, and it's always soft to your hand, so it won't splinter. And from the oiling perspective, over time it does still gray out. It's just by putting that oil, that UV resistance, that coating on there, it helps kind of lock in more of the tannins, and then actually shows the beautiful grain of the wood.
So why wouldn't you use something like teak then? Like, what's the difference between like a eucalyptus and a teak application?
Yeah, teak, that's a great question. So teak is hard to get in consistent colors. So it's either there's a white teak and say a red teak. And what ends up happening is companies will finish it and then put it into a container and send it across the pond, and it will mold over time because it didn't cure, or the stain didn't bite into it long enough.
So Jamie, that picture is absolutely really nice looking, and it's nice and it's light and everything. How long is that going to look like that?
We have product that's been out for 10 or 15 years and it still looks really good, but it does start to warm up over time in terms of the gray.
Is that because of the processes you guys do?
Yeah, it holds it in longer. I think on the next.
Are there things you can do to keep it from doing that?
You can oil it every other year if you choose to.
Okay.
But a lot of times, from a maintenance perspective, once it's out there, they're not going to go back. It's just more of a cost issue to it. What you see here on the screen on the left is the pieces of the eucalyptus that I have here. I live in Denver, Colorado at 6,400 feet. And those two pieces have been on my roof for a year. and
Would
it
you
hasn't
forget
changed.
them up there or something? I mean.
Oh, yeah.
were you-
My test, but yeah. And then when you see the Ipe and Jara, that's what most folks are used to. And as you can see how it grays out over time. And the thermally modified ash is a newer product. It goes through more of a pickling process where heat changes the structure of it. And so the durability and how long, it's not as known yet.
So is it important for like wood to be able to breathe?
Well, it is because
I mean, what does that mean? I mean,
it helps keep the mold off. Like if it was sealed, you could have mold underneath it. That's what happens with teak. It basically molds through.
okay.
So then as we were talking about, again, the materiality, tannins, all wood has tannins. So again, the photo that you see in the middle, that's the actual installation of the product that you just said was a light, beautiful install. And that's really what happens to it after it's first installed. So again, you're cutting the boards, you're sanding them, and then it's installed. First time it rains, you'll have that leaching on the ground. The UV protectant holds in more of it, but that does happen, and it will go away over time.
So is there anything we can do or that you can do where you don't have leaching? Or is all wood going to have leaching? And then is there something else that maybe looks like wood?
We will get there. That's a great question. Inquiring minds want to know.
I'm assuming those stains will either wash away or you can clean them away.
Right. We did a project on a museum campus, and they had a beautiful white slab, and they had wood on it. And then by the time they did the photo shoot, it had a brown puddle underneath it. The landscape architect knew. The architect and interior designer did not. So they thought there was something wrong with the product. But we were able to clean the concrete for the photo shoot. But it's still going to happen for the initial beginning of months. So again, if we don't want to use wood, which is a great question, this is called Duraslat. It's a mineral-based composite, similar to when people think about TrackStack, if you're familiar with that. The difference between this product is it's a mineral base where TrackStack has a wood pulp in it, and that typically stains and bows a little bit more. If you ever remember the plastic, the plastic looking product that's outside, that's really what it is. This is more of your second generation or third generation, where it's very dense. It is used in decking. It does have a 50-year structural warranty on it, 25 on coloring and staining. So it's a pretty robust product.
So Jamie, will this ever fade or lose color?
No, it has a 25-year warranty on fading.
Wow.
Yeah.
Will it crack?
Okay, wow.
Right.
And just to let you guys know on the call, it does have a wood texture feel. I mean, when you walked on this, I don't think you know that it's not wood.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
But,
Yeah.
And it's because it's the newer generation, it doesn't get hot. It doesn't hold the heat like some of the older plastic composite products.
Really.
Yeah.
So Jamie, how does the cost compare to real wood?
It's about, the Duraslat's about 10% to 15% less than real wood.
Wow.
Lasts longer, looks better for longer, and it costs less.
Yeah. I mean, but wait, there's more.
What about like graffiti? Like, is there, because with wood, you could sand it and refinish it. So is there any sort of recommendations to get that off?
You can power wash it, and you can use a pretty like a mild abrasive or a mild detergent on it.
Okay.
But if somebody wants to ruin something, they will.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate, but yeah. But you can power wash it.
Good question.
And then the three types of metals that we work with are mild steel, stainless steel, and aluminum. Aluminum, and there's a casting floating around here somewhere that you can keep in its raw state. Aluminum's, while beautiful, our castings still come from Australia. Most of our competitors' castings still come from China. It's just hard to get aluminum in the States. And it's a 3-year waiting list to even have the opportunity to get aluminum right now.
Wow.
So what are the differences between mild steel, stainless steel, and aluminum?
So mild steel is typically more cost effective. It's easy to work with. It welds really nice. Stainless steel is hard to work with. We use grade 316, so it does take more craftsmanship and workability. So it takes longer from a labor perspective to fold and bend it. And aluminum is fantastic. It's just more expensive, and we use we use it in castings.
Mm. And I think somewhere along the line you mentioned that aluminum is soft. Does that make it more susceptible to bend over time with heavy use?
Not so much the bending, because it goes through the process to make the casting, but aluminum in itself is a softer metal.
Okay. So what does Baton Gardner use mostly, and why?
I would say right now, our first product that we introduced was called Urban, and that's the casting that's floating around in here. That was introduced in the line 27 years ago, and it's still the best-selling product that we have. But we do use more stainless and mild steel today than we used to.
Nice.
No, it's not.
And just to kind of talk about the different finishes, and this is where it does get more important for when you're specifying things. So we do powder coat and hot dip galvanizing. Powder coat.
They're gonna come get them soon. I'm on a conference call.
Don't worry, go ahead.
Oh, so if you think about, since we're all real familiar with interiors, and if you think about systems furniture, the top caps, again, that's got that clean, very nice, beautiful finish. That's typically a powder coat. And what we do for outdoor furniture, it goes through 5 stages where it gets washed, and then it gets a zinc primer at the end, and then it has a polyester powder coat that's then applied to it. So you get that very beautiful finish. And then hot dip galvanizing really goes through more of it goes through a wash process, but it actually gets submerged, and it gets a really thick layer of the zinc primer. And typically it's got a dimple to it, so it'll have more of a texture to it. You can still powder coat over it, or you can leave it in its raw state. Very durable. If we were in San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge, we would recommend using hot dip galvanized finish versus just powder coat.
So is one better for extreme cold or hot temperatures then?
It's really more about more of a marine environment, or if it's going to be sitting in water all the time. That's where you would, is the galvanized gives a thicker primer than the powder coat.
Okay. How long do they typically last?
Well, our warranty is 5 years. It lasts as long as if you have the right metal, if you use stainless steel screws, and you don't crack the membrane, it's going to last a lot longer. But again, if somebody hits it with a forklift, it's still going to crack.
Sure.
So how easy is it to scratch? And say crack with membrane. So we know a lot of times when you have these outdoors chairs, you can't stack them or you can't scratch them because then it'll rust.
Right. Well, and if that's the case, some of those probably didn't have the primer, for one thing. But two, you have to get through the zinc primer for it to really start to rust. If you chip off the paint, it's not going to do anything.
So just FYI, because we do represent lines that sit there and say they have, that have outdoor furniture, which it's great. You put it out there, and if nobody scratches it or nobody does anything,
Right.
You can leave it out there for most of the year. But if it does scratch, then it'll rust, and they'll say, that's not part of the warranty.
Right.
It's scratched. So with this, obviously there's that extra layer. Now, we have these beautiful colors.
Yes, we do.
Is this the only beautiful colors that you have?
That is the standard colors, but we do have the ability to get all of the RAL colors.
Even Ohio State red?
Even
Red?
RAL.
yes, we can.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
we'll have to put them through that test.
What about
are
Penn
these
State
in-law-
Blue?
Sorry.
Yes. What about Penn State Blue?
I was just gonna ask, are these the end all be all for like finishes that go on metal for outdoor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we wanted to just talk a little bit about different applications in Australia. Safe, healthy and safe is a big, I think it's a little larger portion of jobs there where they really want to make sure that they have ADA compliance. Our urban tri-table that's on the top is about 84 inches across. It's basically like an outdoor conference table. You can put 9 people around it and then 3 wheelchairs. And what I really like about it is that it's unintentional. A lot of times when you think about ADA compliance, you know, you're cutting a chair or a bench or you're leaving a chair off. You can't really see it because folks are in the top right. But we did the school in Denver, and we basically left one of the stools off for the ADA compliance. And so having, you know, thinking about it a little bit differently, like where that tri-table is in that top left, it allows, you know, wheelchair access without saying this is, hey, this is where you got to park your wheelchair. And then bottom, we installed that in Denver last May.
So if I wanted to do the urban tri-table, but instead of benches that are free floating, would I be able to do something where they're attached to the?
Yep, all the products can be surface mounted or embedded into the concrete so they don't move. Absolutely. And they're heavy. I mean, that bench on the bottom left, right on the picture weighs about 350 pounds. Wow. It's not moving.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just showing some different things. All of the products, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of doing curves and kind of specifying it the way that you want to see it. I just wanted to show some of our products in different spots in Australia.
Beautiful.
We only have 3 installs right now in the United States. So we're looking just in case.
What is your lead time?
We are about 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what about freight?
Freight is really, we're 12.5% of the sell. Because freight moves so much right now that every time we try to get a freight quote, it's only good for 30 days.
Yeah.
And so it's just easier to use a holding number for the project for a budget, and then we'll give you the actual freight when the order comes in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that 12% of list?
Sell. Yeah.
Oh, then, okay.
Some of the litter bins that we have. We call them litter bins because when they're over $1,000, they have to have a letter name.
Yeah.
Now, are those just all wood, or can those be also this composite?
They can be the composite as well. And we can do perforated metal fronts, all metal, and then the obviously the wood and then the Duracell as well. And then our warranty is 5 years. The industry standard is about 3. And well, obviously, you know, we're starting off in North America, so anything we can be doing to stand behind the product, we always will. The only thing we don't cover is install in terms of the warranty. We do specify which hardware to use, but then it's really up to the general contractor or furniture dealer to install. And that's standard.
Does anybody have any questions?
There is one question maybe in the chat. What the current lead time, so
Yeah.
we've already answered that, but 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
In
That
case of
seems like that's pretty fast. And
Yeah.
if you're comparing other outdoor furniture companies, I mean, we could still order that for this spring.
Right. So the urban product, the casting that you have, we have a container full of castings in Dallas, and we have all the wood here already. So we're ready to go with that. And then all the other products that we're making, you know, everything's being made in Dallas. The litter bins are the ones that are going to be closer to the 6 weeks just because they're more part intensive. But if you needed an urban like bench or seat, we can have it in less than 4 weeks probably.
Wow,
Because we just have to powder coat them.
that's great.
and
So,
assemble it.
Jamie, how would you say that the overall pricing compares to, say, another company that might be thought of as an industry leader? How do you like
The landscape.
that?
I mean, great company. I worked there for 6 years. I would say on certain products, we're gonna be, and I don't like to talk like that, but we're gonna be more cost effective. We don't have the same overhead, and we're not as big as a company. So we're gonna be very competitive.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, nice way of saying that.
Yeah, no, I got hot in here. That's like, what
It
the-
did. Especially when like everyone's staring at me. I'm like, hey,
You know,
no.
well, we want to thank everybody for taking the
Thank
time, and now we're gonna draw, how many names?
3.
3.
Oh, were you supposed to put your name in?
Oh,
You didn't?
I put your name.
Oh.
Everybody register, whether you're here or not, right?
You got, I can't.
Can't read?
Yeah.
We'll pick another one. Bridget. Amber will talk to you as far as what.
Yeah.
Eileen Goodman.
Eileen, good. Very nice. Yeah, well, you got the call and everything else. So one more. Okay. And Mandy Wolford.
Mandy.
All right.
Well, thank
And I did not purposely rig this thing to add.
Nice.
Well, thanks, everybody. If you have any questions, let us know. Love to get a chance. If you're ever around Columbus, come on, stop in. We will have product if the shipping company ever finds it.
Yeah.
We were supposed to have product here, but
Ice storm in Dallas.
weather issue.
Come see our new showroom.
We'll shut down
Thank you.
for- Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.